welcome back to Glitter Budget with your hosts, Anjannette.
And Jess.
And in today's episode, we are discussing Willow. It's a favorite of mine. Came out the year I was born, 1988.
Strangely enough, also about a redheaded baby.
Yes. That's one of the reasons I ever so loved it. But also Warwick Davis.
Fair
Anyway,
enough.
it was directed by Ron Howard, produced by George Lucas of Star Wars fame, as anyone should know. The story was also written by George Lucas, and the screenplay was done by Bob Dolman.
Yes. And I think after this, George Lucas did, was it books or comics? To keep the story going.
He did books, but I think there are comics as well.
Okay.
But because it apparently had not done as well as he thought it would, he figured he would just continue the story in book form.
Which is pretty cool.
There is a novelization of this movie, too, of Willow.
Okay. All right, fair enough. Before we dive in to the movie, though, just some fun facts on what happened that year in '88, aside for the birth of this dear child, sweet summer child. No.
It was me, and I turned last week, so that was fun. You can do the math of the year that is now.
How old were you?
So,
How to what?
32.
There you go. 32. It's all right. I'm 1 year closer being 35. Yeah. Yeah.
The big 3-5.
Hmm.
That's not this year.
No.
That's just next year, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I was like,
It's getting close, though.
dangerously close.
Yeah. I don't. All right. Anyways. Other events that happened in that year. At the end of the year in December, it was the first World AIDS Day. Actually, I think the month before that, October, November, the Morris worm, which is the first worm virus, basically via the internet.
Yeah.
Was produced by Robert Tappan Morris at MIT. So that was put out. And then the year of '88 was also a really rough year for conflicts between the IRA, which is the Irish Republican Army, and Britain, which, had spanned its centuries, but a lot of conflicts had picked up that year as well. So much so that the UK was like, nobody can broadcast any interviews with IRA members, and the BBC went, fuck you, we'll just use actors then. We're just going to skirt around that, but that's what's going to happen. So
that's your history lesson for the day.
Yep.
I hope
the
you enjoyed.
The more you know.
Back to your regularly scheduled programming. Back to you, Jess.
Oh, God.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, back to you.
Anyway.
This is your pick.
The movie, Willow, has a lot of resemblances to Star Wars. Naturally, because it is written by George Lucas. But it stars Warwick Davis, who plays Willow Ufgood. He is a simple farmer, and his race is called the Nelwyns. And they are a race of little people in this fictional world. I don't know what the world is called. They just have different areas like Tirasleen.
Yeah.
And I forget what the other places are. But anyway, it's a fictional world. Nelwyns are the little people. Daikini are the giants. Not like giants to us. Just
average
size people. And they have trolls, dragons,
fairies, brownies,
and stuff like that. And they do have all of these things in the movie.
Yeah. Which is pretty cool.
Anyway, but there's an evil queen, Bavmorda, and she is terrorizing the land, essentially. And there's a prophecy that says that a baby born with a special mark will be the one to bring about her downfall. So she's going around and killing all of the babies.
It was pretty brutal. So my first time seeing it, I didn't know this movie existed until she was like, "Hey, we should watch Willow." And I'm like, "What the hell is that?"
All right.
But the beginning of the movie, obviously, it kind of gives you some backstory of what's going to happen. And I was like, that's really dark.
Yeah.
I'm surprised you didn't take it one step farther and just start killing bitches off.
Yeah, I'm surprised that they waited for the women to give birth.
I'm saying, like,
Yeah. But the midwife of this woman that actually gives birth to the child with the mark ends up kind of doing like a Moses situation, sends her down the river, and Willow and his family end up finding her.
Willow's basically like, just push it back in the
Yeah,
river.
it could be someone else's problem, and his kids are like, Dad, like, it's a baby. And then Willow's wife finds her and just like, we're taking care of this child.
Yeah, like how it's just like, no, don't you
Yeah.
dare get connected to that baby.
No, you stop it right now. But they live in a world obviously where like magic is real, and Willow's actually an aspiring sorcerer, and he thinks it's a bad omen, this child.
Yeah.
And the whole village already kind of like doesn't like him. So he's worried that the fact that he found this child, it's going to bring all this other kind of shit on him. But the movie starts with this celebration where the High Aldwin, who is like essentially the leader of the Melwins, also like a shoddy sorcerer himself. He's like a wisecracking one.
Is like a sorcerer. I don't looking at it, I was like, do you even have any power?
Well, he does, but he's kind of wisecracking like Yoda.
Yeah.
And they realize that they have to. Willow realizes that they have to get this child to safety because during the celebration, the evil queen's devil dog type things come and they're like trying to find the baby, and they end up destroying this baby, this bassinet type thing, and they realize that they were looking for a child. So Willow's like, holy shit, we just found a child. They're probably one and the same. We got to do something. So he brings it to the council. The High Alderman is like, all right, well, you got to take this kid out of here. And they take a bunch of people, and they're like, okay, the deal is you're going to take this child, give it to the first daikini that you see, and then we're done. Wash your hands of it, blah, blah, blah. So they go, and they're trying to find, like, and Nelwins don't really leave their little village.
Yeah.
Ever. So this is like a first for them all. And it's a rough life out there. They eventually come upon a daikini, Mad Mardigan, but he is in this cage type
Crow's
thing.
Crow's nest? Not
And the crow's nest isn't a pirate
Yes.
ship, right? Or is it
No.
a ship in general?
It's not crow's nest, but it's something crow.
It's a crow cage.
Sure. I screwed that up, sorry. But
Yes.
he's in a cage.
He's in a cage, and they were prisoners or whatever are just left to die, and vultures come and like feast on them, blah, blah, blah. So that's when you realize that there's like a whole bunch of people that are trying to rise up against Queen Bavmorda. Mad Mardigan is someone who only serves himself, but he says, "Hey, no, I'll take care of this kid. Like, it'll give me a reason to live. You let me out of this cage, I'll take care of the kid." Blah 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 blah. So they give the kid to Mad Mardigan, who is played by Val Kilmer,
Yes.
and then Willow and his friend are heading back home, and there is an eagle or a
It was
falcon of some sort with a brownie on it carrying the
child.
baby.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Haha, I stole it from my stupid daikini, blah, 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 blah." And so Willow's like, "Holy fucking shit, like, that's the baby."
Not even a day later.
Yeah, so, like, they go rescue the baby. He goes and finds Mad Mardigan again, like, "Hey, you were supposed to be fucking looking after this baby." And hilarity ensues.
Basically just in a tavern trying to get a piece.
Yeah. But the whole story, the whole movie is like them trying to get the baby to safety, essentially. They realize that, like, so after they rescue the baby from the falcon, Mad Mardigan teams up with them again so they can try to find this sorceress, Finn Rizal, because he was this grand fairy lady, Sherlandria.
Which, yeah, the whole, I don't know, that was kind of like a weird, there was like a weird thing that kind of popped up in the middle of the movie to kind of, I guess give him like reason of, why this baby's so important, but then like she never really came back.
Yeah.
Like, I was expecting her to be like a little bit more of a, not pivotal role, but
yeah.
I was expecting her to reemerge at some point.
But she gives Willow, her wand, tells him, go find Finn Rizal, this lady sorcerer, and she'll be able to help you defeat Queen Bevmorda. Cool. So he goes, finds her, realizes that she's, I think, an Australian possum.
Yeah.
Bevmorda had turned it into an animal, so Finn Rizal needs Willow to turn her back. He ends up turning her into like a bunch of different animals.
Ostrich, bird, donkey, I think.
Tiger at some point. But then they eventually defeat Bevmorda. Blah. And all the stuff that happens in between is funny, I guess.
It is. It was a cute movie.
Yeah,
It was definitely a cute movie.
It's kind of like when you look at it objectively, it is in typical George Lucas form where like it's a story essentially meant for kids.
Yeah.
Like the simplicity of it or like the fantasy realm kind of fictional sci-fi-esque way of it. Like there's a baby that's going to grow up and defeat.
Yeah.
An
I
evil
just
queen.
that was for me what felt kind of weird about it. Like I think when I was read the premise of it, was watching the beginning of it, I was expecting them to, the three of them, Mad Mardigan, Willow, and then the two brownies or whatever, to basically,
Jean and Rule.
yeah, basically get the baby to safety. But then I was waiting for like a montage of them raising it, or fast forward to X amount of years later. So I was expecting the baby to like fulfill the prophecy of actually overthrowing the queen.
Yeah, what was kind of funny was that it wasn't really the baby that brought about the downfall.
Right.
It was Willow and Finn Rizal. Like the reason they were there in the first place was because of the baby, but the baby didn't actually do anything.
Yeah, which
I
is
think-
what I was kind of like waiting for. I was
Yeah.
like,
But in a lot of ways, though, that's kind of like how prophecies work, is like through loopholes and shit like that.
yeah,
Is that in order, you trying to prevent a prophecy from coming true kind of makes it come true.
gotcha. Yeah,
So they, in her attempt in trying to like kill this baby, all these events happened in order to bring about like weakened her regime, turned her daughter away from her, and that was also
she just wanted the D.
She did want the D. She wanted Val Kilmer's D.
Who didn't back then though?
Yeah, I know. I mean, like he looked good.
Yeah,
He looked good. But yeah, there was a speaking of the baby though, and how she had the red hair.
yeah.
Babies, not all babies are born with like a full head of hair.
Yeah.
So she was a fairly new baby, and she was not born with a full head of hair. So because babies have like really sensitive skin, you can't use the kind of glue that you would with a normal like wig if you do not have hair. Which is like I think spirit gum or something like that.
Yeah, it's pretty
So
gross.
They had to use syrup to attach the little baby wig to the baby.
It looked good though.
Yeah.
I thought it was
She
real.
had the best baby expressions.
Right?
Like there were times, like I think with Mad Mardigan, like he said something and she looked at him like, come on, son. Like just she had really good expressions, and they timed everything. The editing where like whatever would be happening outside of the baby's reality, and then they would do a shot of the baby's face, and her expression was perfectly timed. It was good.
I wonder how many times though they had to just do weird stuff to get her to get make the expression that they wanted to be able to edit it in.
I don't know. I feel like probably just like with any standard baby. Like there are some babies that are just like really, really smiley.
True.
So I'm hoping she was one of them. But they didn't when we were looking up trivia, like they didn't say that she was really difficult to work with or anything. Just that
there's a couple different babies though that they had used because obviously babies
Yeah.
grow.
normally, like especially in the time frame that given to shoot a movie, they had a set of twins.
Yeah.
To play the baby. Her name was Elora Danan. Elora Danan. That's her name. So they had a set of twins, which a lot of babies in TV and film they use twins because you can just laws on how actors have to work, especially like minors.
Yeah.
They can only work for so long, so you had to switch them out. So that's why they go through the loophole of twins. They look similar, so switch
Close
them out.
enough. Yeah.
And then they had, I think they got to the point where the twins were too old, so they had to get another baby, which was someone in the crew. They just, like, their niece or daughter or whatever just had a baby. So they're like, hey, let's use this baby. And then baby got motion sickness from being in this little backpack on Willow's back, getting tossed around so that there's a scene where she throws up on someone, and they just kept it in because it was funny.
Yeah. I didn't realize that was real.
It looks fake,
It does.
but apparently babies really do projectile vomit like
They
that.
absolutely do, but what came out didn't look. I just assumed it was fake. I think
Yeah.
that too. Like I already had the assumption, I think going into it, that it wasn't real.
Mhm.
So I was like, oh no, it's just something funny to like put in there. But yes, it was an unfortunate
I mean,
side effect of being jumbled around.
possibly what happened was that like they were filming and she really did projectile vomit, but they didn't want to keep that footage in, so they're like, okay, no, we're gonna have it in the film that she does throw up on you, but we'll throw fake vomit on you instead,
Right.
and we'll get rid of the footage where it was real. So maybe that's why it looks fake if they went and redid it with
Yeah.
like fake vomit. But the premise of her vomiting on Burglecut, the one guy in the Nelwyn village that's constantly making fun of Willow's character.
Yeah. That guy was a dick.
Yeah, he was. I think it's funny. So like the reason Warwick Davis is in this movie, so George Lucas wrote Willow specifically for Warwick Davis after having worked with him in Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah.
Because he
Which I thought was pretty
played
cool.
he played Wicket the Ewok in the Star Wars movie. So he was like, "Hey, this kid, he's going places, man.
He's got something.
Yeah.
He's got it.
Yeah,
Whatever it is.
he's got the thing." So writes this movie for him. Doesn't get top billing, but that's kind of expected because that was only probably. I mean, I haven't looked into his acting credits, but if he wrote it specifically for him, like he was only 17.
Yeah.
Warwick Davis in
He
this
could have
movie.
been very well known at the time.
Yeah, so Val Kilmer ended up getting top billing, which makes sense because at the time Val Kilmer was known.
Yeah.
And that happens a lot, but George Lucas was like, "No, that shouldn't happen because Warwick Davis has like it's the movie's called Willow for one thing, and Warwick
He's
Davis like his
stars
character
him.
has more screen time, but what's going to draw people in is the big name star."
Unfortunately, it
So you
is
gotta
the
think
way it
about that.
works.
But yeah, so he was only 17 when this movie came out, or when they were filming, and the kids who play his children were only about like 10 years younger than he is.
Which was so when I read that, I was like, that just doesn't seem
It's so
Right.
weird, but like he played the role well.
Yeah.
He's a believable father.
I was gonna say it didn't like I don't know, it was one of those characters, I guess, like with the wig that they gave him and like the makeup and everything else, like he didn't I would have guessed he was in his mid-20s at least, you know, not 17.
Yeah, but he definitely does look young though compared to all the other stuff he's been in. But this was actually one of the biggest productions, including Little People.
Yeah.
Like not even taking into consideration like Wizard of Oz or anything like that. Like I think they were the most Little People cast in this movie.
It's like over 200, I
Yeah.
think, 240 or something like that.
And it's rumored that Peter Dinklage is one of the Nelwyns, who was also 17 at the time.
Yep.
So I think I have to watch the again more closely. And in the beginning of the movie, you see him like you're supposed to see him with his arms crossed, judging.
I think they were saying though, like there was no like Peter Dinklage has never come out and be like, yeah, no, I was totally like an extra in that film.
Yeah,
So there's no it's like one of those kind of like rumor type.
yeah.
Is it true? Isn't it? Do
But
we
at the
want to
same
believe it's
time,
true?
At the same time, you want to believe that like it's very plausible because there aren't a lot of little people in Hollywood.
True.
Gary Cox was in it as one of the warriors. He ended up being in Bad Santa and a bunch of other movies.
Yeah.
and TV shows and stuff like that. But he was in it, and obviously Warwick Davis, and there were like a few other actors that have gone on to do other things, but there were a lot of people that didn't. Like, I think that Willow's daughter, that was the only thing she ever did, and then she just
That was it.
went back to doing whatever.
Interesting.
But there were a lot of cute, like, little behind the scenes things, like the dogs, the devil dog type things. They're just Rottweilers with like a bunch of prosthetics on them.
Yeah. It's like we were watching it. Will's just like, man, wonder what they use for like these devil dog things. I'm like, dogs. He's like, no, like what would like I'm like, they just put a mask and stuff on them. It's dog. He's like, no, I mean that can't be like I don't know why he thought it was like CGI or animatronic or something. I'm like, that's way too smooth.
Oh God, yeah.
Like it's a dog. So I had to pause the movie and look it up and be like, they're Rottweilers
Yeah.
with I was like, why would you they're clearly dogs.
That would be the best animatronics ever. They did use an animatronic baby.
Yeah.
And like a rubber baby for certain scenes where they didn't want to have the actual baby do like a scene or a stunt or whatever. So they did have an animatronic baby that did like move and have facial expressions and stuff like that when they couldn't have the actual
Yeah.
baby actors. And speaking of stunt doubles, the scene where Med Mardigan is being dragged behind a wagon, a cart. So Val Kilmer is just like kneeling on this thing, and you can kind of tell, like when you really watch it, that he's just holding on to the edge of this thing, and the poor stunt person is the person who's actually being dragged.
Yeah.
Like when you really look at it, it looks like his body is disjointed in a way, or like he's just obscenely long.
Right.
You're like, well, that poor stunt. Like, I give so much credit to stunt people, but they don't give them enough. I think they need to get like a higher billing
Oh,
or
God,
something like
yeah,
that, because
absolutely.
they go through so much stuff. Like anytime I watch anything now, like when we were recently rewatching Buffy, and I was just like, all the shit that they put stunt people through,
Mm-hmm.
like throwing them through walls, throwing them through windows. I'm like,
Setting them on fire. like-
yeah. And those fuckers love it though. They do love it. But some of the shit, they're like, okay, this is what you're gonna be doing, and they have to be insured so highly.
oh, yeah.
But
Yeah, they definitely don't get enough credit. Like, I know, like, some of them have their own, or there is, I think they're still doing it, like, award show for, like, best stunt double, depending on, like, what
Yeah.
kind of work and stuff like that you're doing. But, yeah, no, they don't get enough credit whatsoever.
yeah. Well, also like just anyone doing behind the scenes shit in general, like editing, lighting, costuming,
Scoring.
scoring, like all this. Actually, speaking of scoring, they paid a pretty penny to use the scoring that this guy like ripped off of other
Yeah.
music. But when you listen to it, you're like, this music sounds familiar.
I've heard this somewhere.
But they use it in a bunch of different movies. So like if you listen to the score and you're like, that sounds familiar, it's because it's been used before. Also, that music has been ripped off of other, like, I think German music and stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, it was funny. Didn't, like, the soundtrack to this in Germany, whatever, like, do really well?
I don't remember that, but I don't doubt it. Probably because they're like, hey, it sounds like that song. But the Wilhelm scream. There are certain sound effects that you would think that they would update after time.
It's such a classic, though.
It is a classic, but they don't update it. That scream that you hear in so many movies is used 3 times.
Yeah.
In this movie.
I don't know. I think it's just one of those things that works so well. I mean, you would think, like, yeah, all right. All right, maybe they should update it.
It's just that, like, because of the way that sound is mixed, it definitely pulls you out of whatever you're watching. And you're like, obviously there are a lot of sound effects, sounds, whatever, that they have to go and dub over later into a movie. Like if it's a fight scene, the grunts and stuff like that, they do have to go in and put in post-production.
Right.
Which is funny because it's just an actor in a sound booth going, like stuff like that. And Like, there's footage way back in Hugh Jackman's Instagram where he had to do post production, like fight scene noises
Yeah.
for Wolverine.
Oh my god.
Logan, for the movie Logan.
That is
And
hilarious.
he's showing the script, and it's just essentially just directions on how he's supposed to sound with like ughs and ahs and all that kind of stuff in there, and he just has to make sounds into a microphone and just pretend like he's in a fight.
Right.
But obviously he's not fighting. So it's just it's funny that's part of the movie making process, is you have to go in post production and do that. But the Wilhelm scream is not, they never seem to do any kind of extra mixing to make it sound like it is part of that
Particular character
yeah,
scene.
or whatever. It's just some disembodied scream
Right.
that happens anytime someone's falling off of a bridge or a building, or they're falling out of something. It's and that's what it is. Like, I find it hilarious.
Yeah, I'm starting, like, I don't know, the more I started to notice it more and more, like the more movies we watch and it's brought up and stuff, I'm starting to really pay attention to it. So perhaps Hollywood, you should update that.
No.
Maybe.
There's a guy who was made famous. He got famous from Vine. Thomas Sanders. I love him. He's really funny. He has like a little skit devoted to old Hollywood sounds that he thinks should be updated. And the Wilhelm scream is one of them. So check out. I think it's a TikTok he did semi recently. So check that out. That's funny. But this was a little tidbit that Jess wanted to rub in my face.
So, as I was going through, some of the actors and actresses that would have been, the part was originally kind of pitched for Rick Malay.
Mayall.
Thank you.
Mayall.
Thank you. Who obviously played Drop Dead Fred, which Jen hated.
I didn't hate. It's just a movie that I saw. I didn't. It's a movie that I saw. Okay. But Will was trying to throw you under the bus, saying that you walked out of this movie. I was like, what?
He made it sound like we were watching it, and I was like, this is fucking dumb. And I just stormed out of the room to go do something else. And I was just like, no, I'm an old lady.
It was past her bedtime.
I am old, and I am a stickler, especially during the work week, for a routine. Like, I will admit it's pretty bad. Like, I am a very routine-oriented person Monday through Thursday, really. It was getting to that time where I was like, oh, if I don't take a shower now, and it is a process for me to wind down, otherwise I will not fall asleep. So I went to go take a shower, got my jams on, and then I watched the end of the movie. So there was a little bit that I had missed, but...
So what, you didn't pause it?
No, he kept watching it.
So there's just a chunk of movie that you haven't seen?
Yes.
Wow.
And I had every intention yesterday of watching that chunk.
Wow.
And it just didn't happen.
Wow. Okay.
I don't want to hear it. There's definitely been times where you either just flat out didn't watch it or didn't watch all of it, or it's taken you days to finish a movie.
But I finished it.
Sorry.
What movie didn't I watch?
I don't remember.
What movie didn't I watch?
You were supposed to watch Ever After.
That's not one we discussed on this podcast, though.
We will, but it was supposed to be a conversation of like, hey, you need to watch this movie. And you're like, yeah, all right, I'll totally watch this movie. And then you never did.
Yeah, but this was before we started doing this shtick.
All right, whatever.
Okay? All right.
I'm just saying that you said you were going to do something, you didn't do it.
All right. Well, this movie, when it's my homework for the podcast, you bet your fucking ass I'll watch it.
I'm sorry.
Wow. Wow.
Anyways.
The audacity.
I did enjoy what I did watch of the movie. I would watch it again. It is a movie I would absolutely watch again.
Okay.
But Will made it sound like halfway through I was just like, fuck this movie, it's dumb, and left. And that's not even remotely close to what happened. I think he was just trying to stir the pot for interesting conversation.
It worked.
It did.
I yelled at her. I was like, I watched your fucking imaginary friend movie, blah, blah, blah. Got a little heated. But I did have an entire fucking huge goblet of wine that I was drinking.
I helped.
You
I
did help.
tried.
You tried. And then Kat tried after that.
Did you finish it?
We did not.
Yeah. That's probably for the best.
Yeah. Shiloh had to finish it. But it would, like, so like I said, my birthday was last week. Jess got me this huge, huge wine glass.
It can fit almost 2 bottles of wine in it.
It does say on the side that it fits 2. And it was a huge bottle of wine, so it fit that bottle of wine, but I'm pretty sure that bottle was
Probably
supposed to
about
be
Yeah.
about 2 bottles of wine. And it was one of those times where you're drinking, you're like, I'm not making any progress on finishing. And for me personally, I'm one of those people that I need to finish the drink that's in front of me, or I feel like I have not accomplished anything. I need to finish it.
That would have been really bad.
It was. Well, it wasn't bad. I actually paced myself.
You did.
I wasn't,
I
like,
had it
chugging
for
or
a little
anything.
bit, and
Mm-hmm.
there was again some passing it around. So
Yeah.
it wasn't 100% on you, but if it was 100% on you,
I probably would have gone a little sloppy.
yeah,
It would have been a little bit like my 30th. Got a little slaptastic there.
it was
But-
alright though. It's all good time.
I have I've in my twilight years I've calmed it down. I don't get
Yeah.
nearly as bad.
No,
I just drink on the daily now.
you just space
Kidding.
it out. So instead of just getting shit faced one night,
Yeah. Now
you just space it out throughout the week.
exactly. I blame it on Corona.
You can't blame it on Corona.
I blame it on COVID. Yep. Because no, here's my logic behind this. I blame it on COVID because during the week I would have other activities going on that by the time I got home, I wouldn't really have time to drink. And my time to drink is like I'll have one drink at night to help me sleep because I go to bed at a grandma bedtime.
Well, you get up at the
I go
ass crack of dawn.
I go to bed earlier than the other grandma in the group. I have to be in bed. Ideally, if I want to get a decent night's sleep, I have to be in bed between 8 and 9. 9:30 at the latest, or else it's just a disaster the next day. So I have like a glass of wine. I'll have a claw or something like that. The claw. I'll have one of those to help me like wind down or
Yeah.
whatever.
When you start teaching more classes, that'll take up your time.
Yes. So like the days where either like if I'm doing online classes or something like that, I don't have a drink or whatever. But because I work and then come home, I have a drink now. Because what else am I doing?
Watching movies, obviously, for the podcast.
There's that too. But then on the weekends, I might have a drink in the afternoon. And then another drink at night. That's it. It's not a problem, okay?
I feel like you're like, I'm not saying anything. I'm just letting you go. I'm trying to figure this out for yourself.
And I just don't know if it's a judgy look
No.
or what. What's the look then?
I just don't understand why you're going to great lengths to explain your drinking patterns.
I don't know. Because I'm surrounded. Well, Steve doesn't drink just because he's like, eh. Not because he literally doesn't drink ever, but because he'll be just like, just don't want any.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, well, then I feel like I have to justify why I am drinking.
You don't.
I don't know why.
Anyways,
That was Willow. Good fantasy type movie.
I did enjoy it. It was good.
yeah.
I
I
should
think
check it out.
It's cute. I enjoyed it, and it was one that I grew up watching because it came out the year I was born. But you can stream it on Disney Plus.
Yes.
I believe it's the only place you can stream it if you don't already own it.
Yeah, I think, the options that I had was, I think, just Disney Plus. I don't think it was on Prime or well, it can't be if it's on Disney Plus.
The mouse owns it, so
Yeah.
you can't get it anywhere else.
I mean, if you haven't gotten Disney Plus yet, I don't know what you're waiting for. It's totally worth it.
It is worth it because as the mouse consumes more and more things will be available on it.
Yes.
Although-
Basically, it'll come to a point where you're going to have to
Yeah.
own it or stream it because You're going to have to purchase it monthly to be able to stream the things you want to see, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. But the next movie we'll be discussing is The Last Unicorn, which that is also. She's what?
I'm going to try to watch it.
Did you already try and you didn't like it?
Yes. I did read all the behind the scenes and stuff. That poor author got fucked.
So
I'm going to watch it.
we'll be breaking up in the next episode, which we didn't break up today.
No, but I
Which is
feel it
funny.
coming.
It's yeah, it's coming.
I love you.
Just you wait. Any hoozle. The Last Unicorn will be the next one that we'll be discussing. Check out Willow on Disney Plus. If you like our vibe, please like and subscribe. All of our social medias will be linked in the description box down below, and we'll see you in our next episode. Okay?
You might see me. I don't know.
It might just be me. It's just going to be Anjannette by herself talking about all things movie related. Until next